Welcome to the Daikin D24 Gateway presentation. This presentation will cover the D24V Gateway adapter that allows us to use the Daikin FIT systems with a non-communicating gas furnace. Today we will cover a little bit about the product and technology, compatibility, installation, wiring, programming, and setup, and we'll also touch just a little bit on the troubleshooting procedures. So in the past, when we installed a Daikin FIT air conditioning system, we had to use the Daikin FIT outdoor unit, a communicating EEV coil, such as a CAPEA or CAPE coil, as well as the Daikin 1 smart thermostat and a compatible communicating Daikin gas furnace. Now with the D24V Gateway, we can install the Daikin FIT outdoor unit, we can install the communicating EEV coil and the Daikin 1 thermostat, and then match that up to any non-communicating gas furnace from virtually any manufacturer. This allows us to take the Daikin FIT systems into applications where previously we weren't able to do so. So here is a list of the compatible components with the D24V Gateway. First of all, we have to use an air conditioning outdoor unit. The D24V Gateway is not compatible with the DZ17 heat pump models. AC only, no heat pump. 1.5 through 5 ton sizes of the ACs, compatible with the vertical as well as horizontal EEV coils, Daikin 1 Plus smart thermostat, and of course the D24V Gateway. And there's your part numbers for all of those compatible components. You'll also want to verify the serial numbers of the DX17 VSS models that you're going to be using. There is an older software version that was used on previous serial numbers that is not compatible with the D24V Gateway. So verify your serial numbers, make sure it is on this list or newer, and you should be in good shape. So here are the compatible furnaces with this system. We can use a single stage furnace, either with a PSC blower or a multi-speed ECM blower, like an X13, or we can use a two-stage furnace that either has a multi-speed X13 or an ECM. Now these D24V Gateway adapters do not necessarily work the best with a true variable speed ECM furnace. There's some changes you have to do, and if you're ever in a spot where you're hooking one of those up, feel free to reach out to me and I'll walk you through that. But for the most part, this Gateway adapter is designed to work with PSC motors and X13 motors. Okay, so that kind of covers what the Gateway adapter is and the components that it will and will not work with. Now let's dive in and take a look at the installation of these adapters. Okay, when you open up the box that this Gateway adapter comes in, you're going to have a couple things. You're going to have the installation manual. You're going to have a 9-pin Phoenix connector. Make sure you hang on to that because you will need that for sure. You'll have a couple mounting screws, some door screws, they throw in a zip tie, and then there's some sealing material in there that comes in handy at the end. So we'll need to mount the D24V Gateway in a secure spot. Daikin's suggestions here are mounting the D24V Gateway to a surface that has sufficient strength and stability using the two 4x16 screws that come with it. To avoid damage, do not mount this adapter to any supply duct, in a place that has risks of vibration or water droplets, and they really don't want you to mount this to any furnace, hot water coil, or evaporator cabinet. So that kind of leaves us in a very narrow list of places we can mount this control. It can be mounted to a return air duct, or it could be mounted to a structural framing member or wall near the HVAC equipment. Now, I know there's many applications out there where we don't have this nice flat surface that we can attach an adapter to right next to the equipment, so sometimes we have to mount it where we can mount it. Just make sure it's mounted in a place that you're not going to face condensation, extreme temperatures, or vibration. If we can avoid those three, we'll be in good shape. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about wiring. So the wiring for the D24V Gateway is very similar to a normal Daikin FIT AC system. As you can see, we wire from the Daikin 1 Plus Smart Thermostat down to our EEV coil, and then from the coil, instead of going directly to a communicating furnace with 1, 2, R, and C, we're going to take 1, 2, R, and C down to the D24V Gateway. From the gateway, then we will interface with 24 volts to our non-communicating furnace. And then, of course, from the gateway, we're going to take 1 and 2 out to our outdoor unit. And once we make our wiring connections to the gateway adapter, we're going to went ahead and make sure we have a ground wire on there as well. Make sure that we have a ground wire that connects this to the chassis ground of our unit. And then also make sure that we seal up that hole where our control wiring went through there. That'll prevent condensation and other issues that we have with air traveling through there. And this slide here covers our 24 volt wiring to our legacy gas furnace, or our non-communicating gas furnace. This is going to look a little bit different in each application depending on the brand and style of furnace that you're wiring up to, but it's still going to follow the same format. At the gateway, we're going to have RC data 1 and data 2 going to our EEV coil and to our outdoor unit. But we're also going to have 24 volt connections going to our existing gas furnace. If we have a two-stage furnace, we're going to have W1, W2, Y low and Y1, or Y and Y2, depending on how your unit is labeled. Single stage gas furnaces are just going to use G, W1, Y, and are going to be pretty straightforward. Now, when you are using this in a single stage gas furnace application, you will see that there is an external relay that Daikin will want you to add. Purpose for that relay is so that we can split our cooling speeds between a high cool profile and a low cool profile. Remember, we still have an inverter driven compressor that has different airflow requirements, so we kind of split that into a high range of airflow and a low range. And when we have that external relay on there, that we can switch between a high speed cooling or a low speed cooling application, it'll really help control our capacity and our dehumidification. Two-stage furnace, we don't have to worry about that because we already have the multiple blower speeds built into the furnace. If we have a float switch or an emergency switch of some sort where we want to shut this equipment down, perhaps on a load cycling device or some sort of a condensate protection, we have that ability to wire that into the interface adapter on X1A. Next, we'll talk a little bit about programming and setup. This is very easy with this adapter in place. There is a bank of dip switches that you will need to address when you're configuring the D24V Gateway. DS2 has 4 dip switches on that, and it comes defaulted to single stage gas furnace settings, which is all 4 dip switches in the off position. If you're using a single stage gas furnace and your continuous fan or your G setting is a higher speed tap than Y, you're going to want to go ahead and turn dip switch number 2 on. And if you have a 2-stage gas furnace, you're going to want to turn dip switch number 1 to the on position. Okay, now that we have everything wired up and connected, it's time to commission our equipment here. And when you power up the Daikin 1 Plus thermostat and you start commissioning it like you normally would a typical FIT system, you'll get to the equipment setup screen, and you will see that instead of recognizing a communicating gas furnace, the Daikin 1 thermostat will identify the gateway by the model number, just as an adapter for FIT AC and 24-volt furnace systems. So this kind of takes the place of communicating with that gas furnace, as you see on the screen here. And once you've established communication with all of your equipment, it's time to finish up your cool settings. Make sure that you set the dehumidification setting. There are several different profiles there, an A, B, C, or an off, where you can turn on or turn off the dehumidification profile. For our market here in the Midwest, we're still recommending leaving that dehumidification profile turned off. It just seems to address both our latent and our sensible loads a little bit better for our market. Now, there may be some applications, depending on your equipment size and your load, where this would be helpful, but by and large, we'll want to go ahead and turn this feature off. And once you have your cool settings in place, and you can go ahead and follow up with your commissioning of the system, you can complete the test mode just like you normally would on any Daikin FIT system. You can also roll the system into charge mode, where you can verify the charge via the subcooling method, and round out the commissioning and set points of the system. Very straightforward. Now we'll touch on just a few troubleshooting items here that are available with this adapter. Also on the D24V Gateway adapter are a couple of LED indicator lights, and they are H1P and HAP as well. What you will see on there is the H1P typically indicates network traffic. The HAP blinking shows your network status and shows you that your processing unit is functioning the way it should. We also have the H2P on the circuit board as well, and the number of flashes on that H2P will indicate an error. Usually these are communication errors or errors with the thermostat. There's a handy chart there that will show you what these errors are. And just bear in mind, if you happen to have like an ignition failure or a pressure switch failure, any type of failure that involves your gas furnace, you will not be able to access those failures via the Daikin 1 thermostat. You can only access those errors through the PCB on your furnace control. You don't quite have that luxury without the communicating abilities with that furnace. So that concludes our presentation on the Daikin D24V Gateway adapter. Just in closing, again, this is an accessory that's designed to be able to allow the contractor to use the Daikin FIT outdoor unit with the communicating evaporator on anybody's gas furnace. It's AC only, and it is designed primarily for PSC blower furnaces and multi-speed ECM furnaces. They don't have an ability to work with a heat pump, and we don't have communication abilities with an air handler either. just strictly AC and gas furnace, which is what we see predominantly out there in the market. Also be aware that when you have a call for heat to that gas furnace, the Daikin D24V will also energize your G terminal and bring on constant fan at the onset of a call for heat. So as soon as you get that call for heat, that gateway will throw a G signal and your blower will start instantly. This is kind of a fail-safe put into that adapter, so no matter when we have a call for heat, we know that we're going to have fan right away. Yeah, like I say, pretty straightforward control. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at any time. And best of luck and happy selling.